Hello and welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. And today we've got a very special episode today. We're going to be launching something very new and exciting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's get into the pleasantries and everything like that for now. I'm only with Shaun today. Unfortunately, half of our pod is actually either going to or in the UK right now, Shaun. So we're the only two South Africans in the South African Rugby podcast.
Yeah, I know, and it's time for you to fight back against. Shit, I got this all the way wrong way around. I was saying fight back against Kooks, but I think you've been the aggressor the whole time. So now Cook's going to have to take 2 weeks of abuse and then come back and try and rectify things. I just want to say, for the record, I'm totally neutral here. I'm just going to be Switzerland, and I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
I will not comment on the ongoing beef that I have with Kooks that I'm not even too aware of at the moment, to be honest with you.
Brilliant.
Shaun, I think so we have a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about the thing that we're launching in a few moments. But let's just, as we always do, just talk through our first phase. We'll spend a few minutes on that, some rugby news from the past week, and then get into it. You were actually the brains behind this one, which is trying to get collective nouns for the different positions. And yeah, there were some quality responses here. So I think one thing that I've realized is that people hate scrum offs. I think that's the main issue here.
Yeah, they got a lot of abuse, eh? I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. This was funny. This is why we invented first phases, for banter like this, I reckon.
No, it also was a good way of testing my high school English skills and being able to remember all of these collective noun thingies that we did in high school. But yeah, no, it was great, and the people really participated in it. Shout out to our dirt trackers. You guys really did well. But yeah, let's go through some of the best ones. I mean, I think it doesn't really get much better than a shithousery of scrum offs.
It was gold. Absolute gold. That we need to put that into the Urban Dictionary. It needs to be a thing. And we just move on. Who was it that sent that?
So that was from Dean Kitzman, who also had a brawl of hookers, great. A troop of fly halves. I think more wings or troops, but it's fine. And then a lumbering of locks, which is great.
Yes. Yeah, that was good. There were some good ones. Everyone hates the scrum halves, and the other one was some of the fly halves got also a bit of banter, more on their looks. I can't remember what it was, but it was also funny.
Yeah, I think the other position that was getting a lot of responses was the hookers. So obviously, you've got a street corner of hookers. I mean, for obvious reasons. A brawl of hookers, as I've mentioned, a murder of props, not hookers at this stage, but yeah, that's also really good. But actually, the front row friends have a lot of love here. A pie of props,
yes,
a stampede or a buffalo of props is also really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the pie because, like, I'm a casual. I belong to a drinking club with a rugby problem, so like that's really that's right up my alley. That's exactly how I see props in my life. Not as these elite pushing machines; they're just more drinkers and eaters.
No, fair enough. I was actually listening to an interview that the Aotearoa Rugby Pod was doing with Tamaiti Williams, who was obviously he's the massive young prop from New Zealand, who's 1.9 meters tall, and he's now only 130 kilograms because he lost 10 kilograms during the course of the season.
Yes, because he's flipping finding out what Test rugby is all about, so he's grafting a lot harder. Only 130, that's madness.
He was like, yeah, I've slimmed down. I was like, that is not slimming down, sir. Or to anyone else, that's not a slimming down. Exactly. Yeah, so going through some of the other great responses, we have a key of locks, which I think is a good play on words there, and a door of locks from Martin Prinsloo. Rion Lowe, just talking about a plague of flankers because there are too many. I think that's especially true in the South African case. And a blessing of tens. We would love a blessing of tens right now in South African rugby.
And when I saw that, I knew it had to have been a South African. because we've been hunting a few tens. We want to be in that position where we are with flankers and wingers at the moment. We're like, I'm sorry, but we have to leave someone at home, as opposed to we're in trouble.
Hey, let's take all of this annoyance of scrum halves instead. So
Exactly.
another good one was an exasperation of wingers, which I thought was really good because yeah, sometimes for good and bad reasons they leave you really exasperated when you're watching them. A diffusion of fullbacks this is from Liam Morum. I'm not sure
That
about
was a
this
great one.
diffusion of fullbacks. Oh, okay, explain that one for me.
Oh, I just enjoyed it. Like, I'm just like, what are they diffusing? What's happening? There could be a number of things. I
Oh,
mean, what
like I
about
said,
all those
diffusing
bombs?
bombs.
All those bombs that you're dropping in on
Ah,
them? Yeah.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't understanding that, but that actually that's really good. Oh, that's very cool. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
the
it
light
was it
bulb
was
has
a
come
class.
on to my.
But I mean, that's not like that's because I also read it now. That was my first thought, but I thought maybe I'm misunderstanding what the word is. We need
Mm.
we need our English teachers to DM us and abuse us for our lack of knowledge.
Yeah, we're not doing well. We're not doing our English teachers well. Shout
But
out to
we
Miss McLaughlin.
inventing,
Um,
yeah, we inventing this. So we can make any word we want. That's the way I look at it. So a diffusion of fullbacks, like they're just diffusing all the bombs that are coming through. So
mm,
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Like, we've got to go hard.
fair enough. Yeah, so Sean, I think that was a great contributions from our dirt trackers. Yeah, that is our first phase. We always have one at least once a week to try and like you said, Sean, just to hear the great banter that our rugby fans have. And yeah, now we have to let's transition first into some good news. Let's stick with the good news vibes for now because a Springbok team has been announced for Saturday's test against Wales. I don't think we'll be recording another podcast this week, so this is going to be just our chance to talk about that for a few moments. So Jacques Nienaber has announced a very strong Springbok squad to face Wales in the warm-up game this weekend. Good news is the returns of Siya Kolisi, Jaden Hendrickse, and Oxen Che. So they are all in the 23. You have Kolisi and Hendricks are starting. You have pretty much most of our first choice players, maybe apart from the experimentation at lock with Klein and Achia Snyman resuming their partnership from Munster. And then on the bench, you have the likes of Oxenche on the bench. Franco Mostert is reserved for the locks. And then you have two backline players, Grant Williams and Damian Willemse. Yeah, Sean, I'm pretty happy with the squad. I think we need cohesion as much as possible. So I was like, either we do full cohesion and try to pick our best side, or we protect everyone just given the injuries, and we'll talk about that just in a few moments. But yeah, I think there's a good side. Hopefully we can. I mean, the main priorities is that Kolisi especially, but also Hendrickson and Che can come out of this match unscathed.
Yeah, I'm loving this squad. That is a massive pack, massive.
Mm,
And the thing is, this really does have first choice 15 about it. I know there are a
mm,
couple of other guys that'll come back, and you can argue a few positions, but it does have that vibe about it. Like, it doesn't look like someone is just getting a run for shits and giggles, or to try out whatever. So I'm loving the Clan Snayman combo in the locks. Um, I'd love to see that work. I think, you know we all want Snayman to be off the bench for his impact and everything, but he needs some more time in his legs, and I'd like the combo together to work because that could be a great option for us. That could essentially be a second a second choice lock pairing that could be like a first choice, kind of like our front rows from 2019. It didn't matter which one you started; they were going to just hurt people
mm.
regardless. Um, yeah, I'm super happy with the loose chair. Khaleesi coming back. I mean, what's it, 116 days or something? It's flipping incredible.
Yes.
I'm obviously just freaking out. Like, I just want him to be okay. But Peter Steftator and Jasper Visser together again. That loose chair I like. Visser's got a massive role to play in the World Cup, regardless of his form. So we need him back and playing. I'm glad that Jaden Hendricks is back. This backline looks a little bit like they might be kicking a little bit, but I've been saying that the whole year. Maybe that's kind of just my conservative default approach, and that they haven't done it. So interesting to see what happens. I'm very surprised that Colby's on the left wing. Very, actually. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him play there properly. Yeah, midfield is pretty easy. I think they moved Colby over to give him some game time, and also to allow for Cannon Moody to start.
Yeah.
There's a guy that's like has really bashed down the door. I'm very happy to see him playing. He's got so many options in the back line. A lot of people talking about him being a future book 13. So yeah, give him some game time if he's there. Let it happen. But yeah, I think like I'm so glad that Oxen Chair is back. I must be honest, I really didn't expect him to come back. I'm very surprised when he was announced in the Springbok squad. I clearly misunderstood his injury. I thought, can't remember who it was that had a pec injury before, but they were like out for yonks. So we're not so sure about why I thought he was like really out, but we need him. It's great to have him back. Franco, again, same conversation as Jasper Visser. He's got a massive role to play in the World Cup, so he's got to get going. Marco van Staden's earned his space. Dwayne Vermeulen's going to come on and rip up trees. And Williams back from his head knock, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
We've gone 6-2 with Williams and Willemse. Willemse, very interestingly, has kind of moved back into our first choice 23 if we're naming a 6-2 again, you know. The form of Villy has really kind of cancelled out Willemse starting at 15. But we've got options there. And then obviously Williams can cover, wing and 9. So, yeah, all in all, I'm very happy. I love it. There are guys there that need time and we want to see, but we are starting to gain momentum. And I think we're going to I really think we're going to name a full team squad against the All Blacks. I think we have to, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, exciting team and not too predictable.
Yeah, I think this match is more about just gaining momentum. I think big things to also see, and like at least things that I'm watching out for. Snyman with managing the line out. I mean, yeah, this is maybe an audition for him to try and play or try to get the number 5 jersey because Diath is obviously not in the Springbok squad. So I want to see how he runs the line out, how he works with Malcolm Marx. I mean, look, the Welsh line out has been terrible in these warm-up games, but yeah, so it might be an easier task for Snyman in this game. But yeah, I want to see how he runs the line out and see if there's any issues. So yeah, that's an opportunity for him. And then the other thing is just building a combination between Libok and Damon Dialendi. Because, I mean, they've barely played with each other. And I mean, Libok obviously has barely been a Springbok. So between him and Hendrickson and him and Damien, hopefully there's a bit more cohesion between those three. Because it seems like Libok and Villy are on the same page, which is obviously fantastic. And we know, obviously, the Dialendi Creole combination is great. And Villy has a good understanding of the back three. It's just that 19-12 that we need to nail, I think, for the World Cup. So I think the more game time that those three can have together, the better. And yeah, I think then, I mean, as we've talked about before, when we talked about the squad announcement, I think the number 5 and the number 9 jerseys are very much up for grabs. And maybe arguably the wing positions are somewhat up for grabs as well. I think Keenan Moody's been given almost a trial here to go, look, if you perform well, there's no reason why you can't be the number 14 when we play Scotland.
I also think that Moody could very comfortably fit into player 23 and a 6-2 eventually. But I think for this World Cup, for the 2 quieter games, he could get a chance in that jumper. But it all depends on everywhere else. And I'm glad you mentioned the Libok Leroux axis. I'm very excited to see how that goes and to see how if they continue with hard work, because I thought it worked really well. We've had one dud on that, and that wasn't with Libok, but with Willemse and Leroux and how they I believe that was a game plan situation. I think they were learning something and probably got it wrong, but it seems to be working now. So yeah, that should be exciting.
Yeah, so I think more than the results, Shaun, honestly, I just want to see us get into a rhythm. So yeah, I think we need to just get into our phases. Like make sure that we can, play multi-phase rugby, that we're kicking well, that there is some structure to the game. Yeah. So I don't want to say excuses, but the obviously we had like 40 odd people in the squad and the constant changes, that's now gone because we just need to see that this team is coming together because as we've seen in the warm-up games, Scotland will be at top form, judging by their games against France. And we know how good Ireland is. So we need to hit the World Cup running. So, yeah, I mean, we know that a Wales game is usually a very dour affair when we face Wales. And we usually know that it's going to be like a 12-13 type of game. But I really don't mind that as long as we're playing well. Hopefully, it's not sort of the 12-13 or whatever the results were from the England Wales games because those have been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then let's go into then the sad news for the that's come out now. Number one is probably a star or who would have been a star in this Rugby World Cup. Romain Tamak has torn his ACL, so he's going to be out for the Rugby World Cup, unfortunately. It happened during the France-Scotland game, which France narrowly won 30 points to 28. And yeah, he was just trying to tackle Finn Russell. I think he just was a bit too upright and he just landed awkwardly. I was thinking because he walked off the field on his own power that he should be fine. But yeah, it's obviously the worst news for France and for himself as well. Misses out on a home World Cup.
Yeah. So the strangest thing happened. When I saw that injury, I actually rewound it and watched it slowly because just the way everything happened, it just looked to me like he did his knee. And I put on one of my rugby groups that I think he's done a ligament there. And I don't know how I saw it or why I saw it. I'm not a doctor or anything, but it just the mechanics and the way it went, just didn't look right. It was such an odd thing. It was funny. He was kind of moving outwards, and then Russell straightened, and then he straightened. But as he straightened, it was just the way that his knee was at that specific time and the way his body moved. It just popped, man. But yeah, flipper. That sucks. It's really so bummed when I saw that. And then obviously, they also lost a prop. There's just like hundreds of oaks that are dropping. We could probably make a great world 15 of players that are injured already as we speak. And this is before the World Cup started. So, yeah.
So Demba Bamba's out. He's been replaced in their training squad. Cyril Bay is going to be out at least for 4 to 6 weeks. So he's in that zone, I guess that you call it the Pollard zone of do you put him in the squad or do you stick him out and then hope he recovers? So we're going to see how that develops in the next few weeks. Just staying on the track of injuries, Jack van Poorvliet is also out. So he's been replaced by Alex Mitchell.
That was an NO1, eh?
You saw just how he got caught there.
That looked like to me, that was like, yep, that's either a whole tournament or just a massive sprain and you're missing 4 or 5 weeks. But flip, man, that's also such a bummer. Very interesting they've brought in Alex Mitchell. I'd like to know what they're going to do with the balance of their nines now. I think Danny Kerr has been leapfrogged. I'd prefer him to play more, but I think Mitchell leapfrogs him.
No, I would have had Mitchell on my original squad. I think he would have been perfect for number 21, like as a reserve scrummer for either Van Poorvliet or Youngs. So I think that's in some ways a bit of an improvement. So there's a bit of a silver lining. And I mean, even back, he's really good, like when the game's nice and open. So I like that for him. And I think I think he can do the sort of balance of the tactical game that Borthwick is doing more so than Danny Kerr can.
I've never been sold on him. I haven't rated him highly. I thought like when he got like his England debut and everything, I was like, cool, well done. Like try and kick on from there, try and see what you can do. But I don't rate him that highly. I'd much rather Danny Kerr was more in the mix. I'm a big fan of Danny Kerr. I prefer him. But I tell you, I know I said it a long time ago, but Willie Hines and when England dropped him out of the squad a long time ago, and then he fell out of favor, I thought that was a mistake. And I think they kind of went between Hines and and Youngs with two old bullies, and then try to figure out who they're going to go with. But England could really do with the Willie Hines, but I suppose he's a little old now. Even now, it would have been a bit too much maybe. But he's still playing. But yeah, I haven't seen it in Mitchell. I haven't seen it
I
yet.
don't think you can
So
have.
we'll see.
You can't have all three of those. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there. I mean, look, if England has had 8 years under Jones and then Borthwick, and they've landed on the two scrum offs that they had in 2011, 2015. So that's not really good.
Yeah.
And very quickly, Shaun, Mathieu Jalibert, do you think he could do the job for them, for France to still win this World Cup?
He's going to have to. But yeah, no, I do think he can. I actually have no doubt about it. To be honest, he was putting his hand up. He was a massive shoe-in for first choice fly half for France last year. And Intermark was slightly out of form. Wasn't he coming back from injury? There was one, and I just thought Jalibert was, either way, Jalibert was outperforming him in the top 14. And now's his chance. Ironically, now Intermark's on definitely way better form and outperforming him. But having said that, it's not like it's like a massive difference. It's not like a top 14 versus a Curry Cup difference. He'll do just fine. Just fine. Interesting. I wonder what France are going to do. Whether they're going to stick with Jalibert and Hastoy as their 2 10s and then bring Seren in because he can cover 10. I think he's in great form. He deserves an option. Otherwise, they're going to go with three 10s. But Jalibert definitely first choice fly half now, without a doubt. Unless they go typical French and go absolutely off the charts and put Dupont at 10. But I'll be honest, I don't see that happening. I think they're not in that much shit to do that. Jalibert is perfectly comfortable and perfectly capable to cover 10.
Yeah. Thomas Ramos also could be an option as well. That can play a bit of 10. We did on Saturday, for example. So I think, I don't see another 10 being drafted in. I think it'll be Jalibert and Hastoy as the first 2 choices, and then Ramos, Saran, Dupont can also step in if and when needed. I'm sure Makalou can play 10. I mean, we know Thibaut Flamand can play 10 as well. Because Shaun, did you know? I'm not even going to do it. I can't. But they'll have enough cover at 10, I think.
I was listening. I was like, "Oh, what must I know?" And then I realized.
I can't do it again. I'm sure there'll be many opportunities in the World Cup to do that. But Shaun, I think let's go into the main course of this. Actually, one more bit of news. Unfortunately, I almost forgot it. It was so bad. So I mean, all I need to say is Owen Farrell did an Owen Farrell. I mean, we're as Rugby Bits podcast, we're a podcast that loves and supports Faz in most things, but we know that our guy does love a shoulder charge here and there. So he did it on Saturday again, got a red card. There was a yellow card upgrade to red in the bunker. And we thought at least a 4-week ban, because obviously he's been banned for this before, including just earlier this year. And the decision came out from the disciplinary committee and they gave him 0 weeks, 0 games, no ban for Owen Farrell. And as you can imagine, social media, I've never seen rugby Twitter be on pretty much in unison about how terrible something is. So you then, even most English people, then that World Rugby has messed this one up.
Yeah, it's a shocker. I tell you the one thing, like I'm quite a big fan of Owen Farrell. I think he's a great rugby player, but there's no doubt about it. His tackling technique's diabolical. He's done this often, but I do want to say something. There's no ways that he made this decision. So how do we go from having the decision being made on the field to having a disciplinary panel coming out so horrendously wrong, like polar opposites? And it's a shocker. And personally, I feel that they knew that if they deemed it a red card, they would have to ban him. And he's banned. I checked up on it, but it looked like his ban would probably be about 6 weeks. So I don't think there was any way, because of his previous disciplinary issue and having attended tackle school, there was no ways that they could make it a red card and then mitigate it down from a week ban point of view. So they would have to have gone with a minimum of 6 weeks. And I think that the moment got too much for them. I think they buckled under that and then went completely like rogue and have deemed it not even like they've deemed it a yellow card, an on-field yellow card, which means there's no ban, no nothing. That's my thought process behind it. And everyone hates Owen Farrell. South Africans hate him and they just like blah, 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 shoulder boy. But this isn't his decision. All these decisions are not his. Like every single time he's being let off, it's not his decision. What the hell's going on? Like how? I'm so disappointed. I'm so like, I just like lost so much faith. I've seen now that it's not World Rugby. It's actually, this whole thing is being handled by the Six Nations Committee. So it's not World Rugby, but World Rugby have the opportunity to appeal it, which they have done in the past. I can't remember for who, but they have done it. But then another conspiracy theory is they're not going to appeal it because all of these people that were on the panel now are actually on the Rugby World Cup disciplinary panel. I mean, fuck, we can't make this shit up. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying that like the opportunity to do the right thing has been absolutely destroyed. And it all comes down from a shit decision previously. Like there's a few shit decisions that have come to this. I'm telling you now, the decision around this was made with the thought of him missing the World Cup. It's absolutely influenced it. And that has come because of the poor action taken previously from different groups. Granted, one was from the Premiership. Another one was, now this one's from the Six Nations. But no, man, we can't be doing this. We can't.
Yeah. Have you seen, Shaun? I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, that George Moala, who had a red card against Canada
10
earlier
weeks
this week. It was for a tip tackle. Haven't seen a tip tackle like that in about 10 years. And yes, like you said, he got 10 weeks ban for that. Crazy.
When last did you see a 10-week ban? When last? Even for someone who has maybe done something like that before. Not for foul play. We've seen it for other stuff. Like, what is going on? And it's a tip tackle. He hasn't driven him. So for those who haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter. So please go and hunt it down. But he's basically smashed the guy, hit him hard, and then stood up and then twisted him and then just dropped him. And he's dropped him. It looks like he's landed on his head, shoulder. I don't know. But I didn't see it close enough. But it's a bad tackle. It's a red card and it's definitely a suspension. Definitely. 10 weeks. No. Like literally every single thing I said before that on Owen Farrell, I'm basically want to say the same thing again. Like how do you get there? Like 10 weeks. Are you joking with me?
Yeah. So that is the terrible news. So today at Rugby Bits headquarters, we are launching something completely new. We are going to launch what we are calling the Rugby Bits 50. And these are the 50 best players, according to us, slightly knowledgeable people at Rugby Bits. These are the 50 best men's players in the world at the moment. And this counts all of their form from in this World Cup cycle. So from after the last World Cup up until now. We are not considering if people are injured or not. We're just trying to establish who are the 50 best rugby players in the world right now. So we asked Jared, Kooks, Shaun, and myself to all have a short list of the 5 best players in each position. So 5 best loose heads, 5 best tight heads, 5 best tight head locks and loose head locks, and so on and so forth. And then through a point system, we ranked then from those rankings, we took who are the top 3. And these are going to be 45 of the 50 players, because obviously there's 15 players on the field times 3. That's 45. That's quick maths for you. And then we're going to have 5 wild cards that we're going to round up our list on. So, Shaun, are you ready? Because you have not even, oh, well, no one in rugby, but apart from myself, sees what the final results are. So, Shaun, you're also going to hear the finalists and who are the players here for the first time as well. So, are you ready for that?
Oh, I am pumped. Yeah, and you know what? I just want to say I completely misunderstood the brief. I'm listening to your intro and I'm thinking we've really got this wrong. Like, what is going on? I thought we were picking the best 15, but we're picking the top 50. So this is all brand new for me. So I just so I just want to tell all the listeners out there that while you're listening to this for the first time, so am I. Oh, no clue.
I'm,
Okay,
I
let's do
had
this.
to. I had one of those big silent laughs. Actually, that's why you probably couldn't hear from me for a little bit. But Shaun, you know what? It all worked out well in the end. I will ask you, which position do you want to start with? You want
Oh,
to start with backs or do you want to start up front?
no, let's start up front.
Okay,
I've got
then
to get
let's.
in the groove. I want to warm up before I get to the main event, which is the backs, obviously.
Okay, of course it is. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you which players scored, like players that were featured in each of our lists, and then I'll give you the top three at the end. Okay, so
Go.
for the lucid prop, that is the number one. That is, the number one in the field, number one in our hearts, etc., etc. So people that scored points on this. So this is their form from 2019, 3rd of November up until now. People that scored include James Slipper. He scored Rory Sutherland, Piers Skuman, so both Scottish loosehead props. Wyn Jones has scored. Ethan de Groot has also scored. Oxen Chair, Angus Bell, and Guillaume Gorgiashvili, the Georgian prop that also plays for, I believe it's Toulon, right?
Yeah, like I said, I'm also hearing this for the first time. You caught me by surprise there.
And Andrew Porter. So the person that missed out on the top three, the nearest to the top three, was Ethan de Groot. And the top three is Ellis Genge at number three, Cyril Bayer number two, and Stephen Kitsoff, who was top in all of our lists, clear first place. So he is the top loosehead there. So the three people making on the list are Kitsoff, Cyril Bayer, and Ellis Genge. What do you think, Shaun? What's your reaction to that?
Brilliant. Absolutely. If I knew anything about the front rows, because judging by my list, which we shouldn't share because it make me look like an idiot, which I am, we all know. But yeah, you're 100% right. If I'd actually just got my props in the right positions, firstly, and thought about England players, because I don't think I've got one English player in mind. But but bang on. I don't think you can argue too much with that. I tell you, the only one that I've heard so about is Ellis Genge. Like a lot of guys, to use a Thala term, like he's on fraud watch every now and then. But I don't think so. Like I think he does. I think he does well. I think he deserves it. But yeah, from a technical point of view, I wouldn't know. But I think it's a great list.
I think Genge, if scrumming was not a thing, he'd be probably close to the top. I think he'd probably even supersede the Spicy Plum because obviously he's just brilliant around the field. I mean, Eddie Jones in that Six Nations game in 2022 against France, he used him as an eighth man. Remember when he was running up those kicks?
Yes, I remember. Flipper, I forgot about that.
So, yeah, no, he's a complete baller, but I think the scrumming probably takes him down. But I think Kitsoff is a good mix of those two things. I mean, Cyril Bayer is not too bad himself, but Kitsoff, obviously, we know how good he is up front in the scrums. And, we know how good he is around the field as well. Has maybe not the silky ball skills that maybe a Genge or a Bayer has, but we know that he gets a turnover or two a game himself. So, yeah, he's a worthy number one, I think. And yeah, so then let's go into hooker. So we go to the number twos. People that scored here, much less than the loose heads. We only have four other people that scored. Samsoni Takiyaho got a point. We got Jamie George, who featured as well. Bongi Bonambi also featured. And then Julian Montoya was the one that just missed out. So he was on the cusp. The top three, probably not too much of a surprise, are Malcolm Marks at first, and then a tie between Dan Sheehan and Julien Marchand, who are obviously two great hookers there from France and Ireland. Yeah, I think what this shows us, at least from the four of us, is that we value obviously hookers that are good with their set piece, and all three of them are fantastic with their set piece. Sheehan, I think has only been turned over once in a line out, or something like that, in the 2 years he's played Test rugby. But also, we know how great those three are, especially around the field as well.
Yeah. Great shot. And just for the listeners, the dirt trackers out there, I had all three of those. Just want to tell you as my top three. So I'm slowly working my way back into the front row union friendship group. But yeah, I was actually a little bit tentative about Shin because a little later down the line, I'm sure I excluded someone because they hadn't played enough Test rugby, and Shin's only played for 2 years. But I think that just purely how he's hit the international scene, how comfortable he's looked, he's been brilliant. He's up there. I know we had this chat a while ago, like which rugby players in the world have been test match ready from the get-go. And obviously Eben Etzebeth is one of them. But Dan Sheehan, I don't think he's put a foot wrong in test rugby. And the only reason why he didn't get a start and played more is because shit, man, forget his name. George Best was there. Bit George Best.
Ronan Kelleher, I think.
And who? Oh man. Anyway, yes, now I'm out of the front row group again. After that, I was doing so well.
You mean you're talking about Kelleher, right? Ronan Kelleher.
No, not Kelleher. Best, the Irish hooker.
Rory
captain.
Best.
Rory, yes. Jesse, George.
George, oh my goodness, not a footballer.
I know. So yeah, that's why I was a little bit tentative about Sheehan, but I'm glad that everyone else picked him also. But I just thought on the parameters, I was a little bit sketchy on it. But he really has, like, flipping, I wouldn't say dominated, but he's going to dominate Test rugby. He's just been comfortable, super comfortable for a youngster at hooker of all places.
Yeah, I think he's just come into the team really well. Kelleher was the incumbent, and then he got injured, and then since then Sheehan has decided that number 2 shirt for Ireland and Leinster is his, and I don't think he's going to give it away anytime soon. Malcolm Marx, obviously, we've known how good he is for the last almost 8 years now. He's been fantastic. Julien Marchand, I think he's near the top of like important players for France, and especially now that Cyril Baille has a bit of an injury concern. I'm sure Julien Marchand, he's pretty much their main like threat in the rucks as well. So looking forward to seeing him in the Rugby World Cup. So let's move to the tight heads, the anchors of the scrum. So people that scored include Carl Sinclair, got a bit of love. Terrell Lomax, the New Zealand tight head. Via Pianel got a bit of love too. Vincent Koch, obviously the reserve tight head for the Springboks. The one that just missed out was Taniela Tupou, but he was quite far off the top 3, which are Frans Malherbe, which is obviously expected, the Springbok tight head. Todd Furlong, the Irish tight head / outside centre, and then Uni Antonio, who's what do you call him, an oil tanker there at tight head. So those are the top 3. What do you think of that, Shaun?
Yeah, brilliant. But who's number 1? You gave us the top 3, but I don't know in what order.
Number 1 is Frans Malherbe.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, that's a great shot. Like, nobody would ever complain about having those 3 guys in your squad. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Some massive human beings as well, let's be honest.
Jeez. Yeah, and both of them, all 3 of them obviously really good at scrumming. Furlong adds the little bit of extra there around the park, but we know obviously the role that Malherbe plays in the Springbok defensive structures. And then Antonio's just, he's just massive, man. I don't think there's much else to say apart from that man is big.
Yeah, big. And he seems to get around. He's always having a jaw.
Yeah.
France doesn't look like he's having a good time. Winnie looks like he's having a jaw all the time. Have you ever seen France smile?
Work on that. No, shame. He's always shame, and I think that's why people think he's like unfit or whatever. He always looks like he's like just run like 200 meters, like at a sprint, and but he somehow gets through all of the work that he does on the field. So it must be working.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to the locks. So we go for our 4 lock, usually the tight head lock. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of a mix between the two of us from the people voting. But I think, Shaun, what I'm going to do for the locks, I'm just going to present the top six, and then we can discuss it from there. So people that missed out or got a bit of mentions were Achia Snyman got a vote, but obviously he hasn't really played that much rugby this year or these last 4 years. I mean, he's he's literally just woken up for Rugby World Cup years. I mean, yeah, that's great for him. Ian Henderson got a bit of love. Thomas Lavanini and Adam Beard, the Welsh lock. Cameron Walker got some love. Brodie Talek, I think a bit surprisingly, also didn't make it. Thibaut Flamand, obviously Longborough's finest at fly half, but he's got votes for lock here. I did mention it. The players that just missed out, and they missed out on very few points, were Luat Diaga and Tug Burn. So I'm sure both sets of fans from South African Island will be unhappy about that. But yeah, let me tell you the top six. I'll tell you it in order. Ebenezer Beth is number one of the locks. He's top of the locks. Number two is Sam Whitelock. Number three is Scott Barrett, who's playing obviously brilliantly right now. Number four is James Ryan, the kingpin for the Irish pack and the Leinster pack. Number five is Mario Toje. Obviously, maybe not as good right now, but has been good throughout the 4 years. Then number six, just sneaking ahead of Byrne and Luat, was Paul Willemse, the lock for France and for Montpellier. So I think Willemse is probably a bit of a surprise there, Shaun.
Well, you see, now I'm very confused because, like, to me, you've named 4 and 5 locks there. Like, I don't.
Yeah, so I just put them
Sam
together.
Whitelock's. Oh, okay. I get it. I thought you were naming, because Sam Whitelock's a 5. So I'm like, for me, yeah, he doesn't. And Willems is a 5 as well, and so is James Ryan. So then you're gonna have to take this. I'll just nod and smile along the way. As long as Eben and Marrow are the best number 4s in the world, by far, in my books.
The frustrating thing is that, as I've learned now, also different countries, basically their big lock is sometimes, I think we're the only ones that have it as the number 4. Most other countries have their big lock as the number 5 lock. Or maybe it's a Southern Northern Hemisphere thing. So
the tallest locks are the 5s.
The enforcer. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're usually the ones that run the lineouts.
Kooks and Jared are freaking out while they're listening to this. Hi, guys. You guys should have been here, but you weren't. So now you get to listen to this carnage. But yeah, like all the tall locks are 5s for me, and number 2 jumpers and hard workers. Well, not that the other guys aren't, but are the number 4s. Yeah.
So
but that was,
I think people that
running,
Yeah, I think people that play 4 lock in that list are Etzebeth, Scott Barrett, and Mario Toje. And then the people that play 5 lock are Whitelock, Ryan, and Willemse. But they all 100%. Have really different. They all have different roles in their teams, because I think Willemse isn't necessarily the line-out general in the French team, and Whitelock is on the other hand, and then Toje is also a line-out general, but Ryan is more now. James Ryan is more of the enforcer, for Byrne being the line-out general. So yeah, I think you have a bit of variance there because of this stupid thing with the rugby jerseys. But yeah, you think that's going to be fine. You'll see with the flanks that it only gets crazier after that.
Because this is the one place where South Africa is completely different. So I was trying to swap things over, and anyway, we're gonna have a jewel here.
So let's start with the blindside flanks. Actually, also a lot of competition here. Funny enough, so a lot of names popped up here. Antti Geelong was mentioned. Sebastian Negri, the blindside for Italy. Jamie Ritchie got some love. Theo McFarland, the Saracens and Samoa flanker as well. Quagga Smith got some votes at blindside flank, which was quite surprising.
Nice.
And then the person that just missed out was Peter Steph du Toit at blindside, and he missed out very narrowly. But the top 3 there are Courtney Laws at number 1. Charles Olivon at number 1. Apologies.
Okay, nice.
Courtney Laws at 2. So Laws at 2, and then Peter Omani at number 3.
So I've also got War Dog there, War God. But I was very interested. Yes, I'm having a nightmare. So I'm interesting. I think Scott Barrett's probably better at blindside, but that is one of those quite contentious things because I've seen it. Almost seems like it's pretty evenly split, whereas people think you should play. But Flip, that's a
Mm.
great set of blindsides you got there, eh? I can't believe Peter Steff missed out. But to be fair, if we did this between the 2015-2019 cycle, Peter Steff probably would have been
Yeah.
head and shoulders with Courtney Laws. I think Peter would have lost out. But you can't really
Mm.
argue that. Eh?
No, look, fair enough. I mean, I think Peter Steff, obviously, he hasn't really played that much, all things considered in the
Yeah.
last 4 years. I mean, he missed out a little bit, and then form wasn't really good, and he had his struggles with his injuries. And he's now, I think, only starting now in this year to become back to that like World Player of the Year form that he had in 2019. So I think that's probably why. But yeah, he narrowly misses out to, I think 3 really class players. So not too many complaints there. Um, the open side flank will be very interesting, especially if you're 180 Jones, and you'll find out why just now. So people that got votes were Sam Kane, the All Black captain, Michele Lamaro, the Italy captain as well. Tom Curry got some love. Juan Martin Gonzalez, he also got a few votes. Levani Botia, who probably also could qualify at center, but he got some love
Yeah.
at flank as well. And then the person that just missed out was Francois Cro, who's obviously a really, really good player. The top 3 are the current World Player of the Year, Josh van der Fleer. The person that maybe people think should have been World Player of the Year last year or 2 years ago, Sia Kolisi. And then number 3 is someone that wasn't even good enough to make his own national team squad, Michael Hooper.
He's injured, so you can't be like that. But
Injured.
yeah. I saw that. I saw what you did there.
Inverted commas.
Yeah. That's a great list. That's a phenomenal list. Yo, I just look at this like if I was picking a squad and I had them in my squad, would I be unhappy? Definitely not. Very
Yeah, I
interesting trying to
mean,
figure out who to put where though. Imagine having those 3 in your squad and deciding what you're going to do.
and they kind of like 3 different types of open siders as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not you can't say anyone is like a feature like a Heinrich Brousseau. Like all of them do a lot around the field. We know how great Panafli and Kolisi are, especially with rucks, like attacking and defensive rucks, and just getting there and clearing bodies. Hooper's obviously fantastic out wide, as is Kolisi. We know that Josh van der Fleer has been working on his carrying game for the last few years, and we know that Josh van der Fleer has also been working on his throwing, as we saw in that test matching in Scotland, where he reserved in at hooker there. So I think, all 3 of those probably had arguments to win World Player of the Year once in a while in the last few years.
Yeah, definitely. What I'm exceptionally happy about is we're now moving on from 8 until 15. Now I get to add all the value.
Well, number 8 actually was quite a clear run race. Basically, everyone had the same top 3, but the 4s and 5s were very interesting. So some people that got votes in 4s and 5s include Jack Conan, Pablo Matera, Taulupe Falatau, Rob Valentini, and Jasper Visa, but they were far behind the ultimate top 3, which I think it goes almost without saying. Audi Severe number 1, and then you have Greg Aldrich at number 2, and then Kalen Doris at number 3. But they were by far.
Did all 3 of us pick that in that order? Eh?
No, so I was just about to say that everyone picked it in different orders, and they like the number of points in this system that we've created. The number of points between those top 3 are the closest for any other position group. So they're only separated by just a few votes because one person or 2 people maybe put Audi at number 1, and
please name and shame who didn't put Audi at number 1. Please name
I didn't
and shame.
put Audi at number 1. I can own up to that one. Oh, 100%. I don't.
Greg Aldrich.
I put Aldrich at number 1.
Oh. Okay,
actually, I think I'm the only. I can look quickly, but I can say that I had Audi 1. I had Aldrich 1, Doris 2, and Audi 3. Only because Audi. Let me explain. Only because of just before I get killed. Only because I think all three of them are pretty much close to the top 10 players in the world right now. But
Yes, that's
I think
true. Eh?
Audie's is a slightly less good eighth man than the other two, because obviously the other two have played eighth man pretty much all their lives. So I was just like, Audie just by a little comes behind. But I think, yeah, you can probably make arguments for any of those three. I'm sure Leicester Rugby Twitter will be pushing the case for Doris. Greg Aldred will obviously have his fans as well. And obviously, we know how great Audie Sevilla is.
Yeah. Interesting. Just want to know where you sit in this, Thala. That's all.
No, I love me some Audie, but not as much as the rest of you guys, clearly. But look, I mean, yeah, I mean, Sean, I think the reason why you and others maybe have Audie at number one is just he's so good at so many things.
Everyone would have him. Yeah. I still think that he'd probably start more people's World 15 at 8.
Mm. No,
Besides,
fair enough.
someone's got a captain your side.
Who do you think? Just a quick question: who do you think out of those three? Because all three of them are brilliant in the rucks. Which one would get you the winning turnover for a game?
Audie. Of those
Okay,
eights. Of those eights,
fair
I
enough.
think Audie Sevilla. That is the one thing that is probably hard to argue. Is like if you had to cast your mind back about like match winning or match altering turnovers, I think Audie Sevilla probably has his face on that sticker more often than not. Eh?
Okay, fair enough. And then what do you think the other two are good at?
Oh, I think Aldrit is probably the best 8 all round for everything except Audie just beats him on that pilfering thing, and I think Aldrit's the better leader. And then Kalen Doris is the best young gun, man. He's on his way up, but I don't think he's mastered 8 just yet. He's played a little bit around the loose trio. I think he's swapped a little bit between 8 and blindside. I think 8's probably his best shot at the moment, but he's kind of been there and thereabouts. I think Aldridge's the best out and out 8 bar far. But Audie's just a beast.
Okay, well, interesting. Well, yeah, they are obviously the top three quite by far for a reason. So let's go into the back line. Sean, you can now get excited. We are starting now at scrum half. I mean, yeah, you won't get many points for guessing who is number one, but let's talk about the people that got some votes. Conor Murray got a few votes. Paf de Klerk got a vote or two. I wonder, dirt trackers, who you think gave this vote for Tawera Kobalo. I won't give you too many guesses for that.
And he didn't play test rugby at all. I'm just saying.
Not a single game.
No,
And
not a single
Nick
game
White,
of test rugby, and he deserved it. Eh? Yo.
and then Nick White, he just missed the mark. But the top three are Antoine Dupont. Obviously, he got 40. Well, he got basically everyone. He was number one for everyone, and then Aaron Smith was number two for everyone as well. And then a bit of a fight between him and between Nick White and this person, and this was Jameson Gibson Park, who just got past Nick White for number three.
So I made a mistake there. White should have been my third, and Jameson Gibson Park should have been my fourth. Does that change it? Does that push White into the top three?
That makes it a tie, which is very annoying. So thanks, Sean.
Oh, well, that means the Aussie wins then, because he's Australian A on the alphabet, and he's third.
You know, Sean, we do have, and we're going to discuss this afterwards. We do have places for 5 wild cards. I guess one of them has to now be one of the scrum halves.
Kobalo.
So fair enough.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Not Kobalo. But I mean, I think we've talked many times about Antoine Dupont and how brilliant he is on this podcast. I mean, he literally kicked a ball flat on Saturday. So that shows you how much of a freak that man is. Let's talk about Gibson Park, because I think he's come almost out of nowhere. Because, I mean, 5-10 years ago, he was playing Super Rugby and he was a okay scrum half there in New Zealand. And now he's suddenly one of the main characters for the best team in the world. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, very interesting. So him and Lowe, both like their international start was like you kind of wondered like, oh, was it worth their while bringing them in? Are they not better players and all that sort of stuff? But yeah, Gibson Park is really, I think, where what they've done is with Farrell is they've really sort of mastered the plan around him and how and what his strengths are, and the way he plays the game fits perfectly into what Farrell and Ireland need and want, and that has allowed him to sort of continue that curve. And he's obviously just not only a great athlete, but he's really driven because he's definitely grown. Like he's almost been playing like since he become a test nine, he's been working hard at playing better rugby. To me, it looks like once he became a test match player, that he really started working really hard on a lot of things. So yeah, I think that's the reason for his move. Because I was very iffy with him in the beginning, and I didn't think that he was that great. I thought he was good. I thought he was definitely worthy of a test call up, but he's playing out of his socks at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's just, and I think just the pace that he adds to the game as well for Ireland, like that's been the big difference. Like when he's on and when Ireland is rolling through their less than like 2 second racks, like he's just running around and causing absolute havoc. So he's
Yeah,
tied with Nick White, so he'll take, or one of them takes the wild card spot. So all four of them are in. So yeah, for that quick amendment there from Sean. Um, let's go to our number 10s, the generals around the park. Votes for Dan Bigger, Paolo Garbisi, Andre Pollard got a bit of love as well. And then the two that were quite close to number 3 are Mr. Shoulders himself, Owen Farrell, and Finn Russell. But then the top 3 were a little bit clear of the rest. Number 1 is Jonathan Sexton, number 2, Raman Tamak, and number 3, Richie Boonga.
sure. That's quite something. Um, I'm very surprised that Pollard got a little bit of love. Who was that? That was Jared. Um, there's no doubt that it was Jared. Hey,
I think it was, yeah. I believe it
yeah.
was.
But all I'm going to say, Jay, is Pollard didn't play great Test rugby over the last 4 years. Otherwise, he'd get some more love. So, access denied, son.
And then I think it's interesting just seeing Richie Monga. I don't think he would have been top or in the top 3, but if this was done a year ago. But I think he's had a really good last like 12 or so months, like since the All Blacks turned around. He seems to also been like really good at yeah. He's just gotten consistent. There's no more drama between him and Bowden Barrett at 10. I mean, yeah, I think he's now the custodian of that jersey, and now Bowden's been moved to 15. And yeah, he's starting to put in that Super Rugby form into Test rugby. Like we know how good he is with accelerating. We know how much of a good playmaker he is, and we know just he's bloody dangerous when he gets some space.
Yeah, he has made a bit of a move. But flip, he's cooking at the right time for the World Cup. He's very comfortable, and I hate it when he's comfortable.
Yeah, and I think well, that'll be one of the things that a team needs to fix. Unfortunately, as we talked about, Romantimak is not in the World Cup, but yeah, I think Jalibe, he can get some votes. I think after this World Cup, I'm sure.
Yes, he will.
Okay, let's move to inside center. Not
Oh,
quite good
are we not doing the
numerically.
wings?
That's we're gonna go to the wings, but
Oh,
yeah, I
sorry,
mean, it
my
makes
bad.
it's
My bad.
makes more sense to go to inside center than to go to number 11. But yeah, so inside centers that got votes, Nick Tompkins and Robbie Henshaw got some love. Bandiaki and Sione Tuipulotu got some love. Jonathan Dante just missed out. And then the top 3 were Damien Dialendi, former World Rugby Player of the Year nominee, Samuel Krevi, and then Jordy Barrett got some love at inside centre. I know, Sean, you voted for him at fullback, and we were discussing that before we recorded. That, I mean, Jordy's probably played more of his Test rugby in the last 4 years at fullback, but now he's New Zealand's first choice inside centre. So what do we do with that?
I know it's interesting. I think, yeah, I think the truth is that he's going to be playing 12. So he'll be a 12 that covers at 15 as opposed to a 15 that covers at 12. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's right that he plays in that. But that is a massive group of 12s we've got there, and pretty. I mean, those are big ball carriers, all three of them. Flipping awesome.
Yeah, but a bit of sleight of hand there as well. I mean, we know, even though if you ask a South African fan, Damien can't pass or whatever, we know how good Damien is with his passing and his distribution. Geordie, I think, has added a big dimension to the All Black midfield. Karevi's, I think, still coming back from that ACL injury he had last year, but he's slowly but surely getting together. I think his playmaking has improved, though.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, obviously Karevi's got a bit of distribution and good carry about him. He's just brought some kicking into his game. And Geordie's now having to bring some heavier carries into his game, but he seems to have figured that out pretty well. And Damien, yeah, I'm super happy with him. He's shown a little bit of kicks in his game, and obviously distribution is there, despite what most people say. But yeah, that's a great group. I don't think many people can argue about that group, if we're honest.
Yeah, I don't think so as well. But I will predict now that Sione Tuipulotu is going to be near the top of this group in a year or so.
He's
I
he's
really,
a
really,
great
really
kick
rate.
pass run 12, eh? Great. Natural
Yeah,
at it.
jeez.
Natural.
I think, yeah, I mean, look, Scottish people are not going to be happy with this top 50, but we'll get to that when we get there. But
Oh,
I
were we
think he's
supposed to
been actually
include
the
the
secret
Scots?
sauce. Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot to add that as one of the rules. I'm so sorry, guys. Oopsie, sorry.
Carnage.
Let's speak about the outside centers. So, players that got some love. We'll start with Hugh Jones. He got a few votes. Naisalevu and Semi Rajaja, both the Fijian outside center options, they got a few votes. Rico Ioane did get a vote in spite of Shaun. You've got Siuteni, the outside center for La Rochelle and Samoa. And then just missing out is Len Ikitau, to my disappointment. But that's fine. The top three are still very good. You've got Gary Ringrose at number 3, Gail Fico at number 2, and then Lucanio pretty obviously at number 1.
That's quite something. If I'm honest, I think on this cycle alone, you probably find that Fiku probably just edges Lucanio into first place. But you're not going to find a bunch of South Africans voting for that, so we won't. So Lucanio number 1.
I voted for that.
What? Yes, bro. You've just been ejected. But yeah, that's quite something. Listen, I think the truth is, how many guys voted Ringrose as number 1, by the way?
None.
Did anyone? None. I think he's probably a little hard done by. I think Ringrose he's probably close to first, but definitely in second. But again, like, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. But when you're looking at it, Fiku and Ringrose are really much of a muchness separating the two, to be honest. Like, it's really the three, to be honest, you know. But yeah, that was fun. And you said Rico. I thought we were only doing wingers later.
I think, yeah, I mean, Ringrose, if this was based on, I think, on the last like 12 months or to 18 months, he might have been near the top, or at the top, actually. But yeah, I mean, over the 4 years, Gelfico has been fantastic. He's been, I think, almost the secret sauce for the French. And then, yeah, I think Lucanio plays a similar role for the Springboks as well. They just, yeah, if you need the attack to get going, that's the two people to get the ball to. And if you need a big defensive read, again, those are the two people that you can call up as well.
Yeah.
Shaun, now you are in the business and we are talking about the wings. So, yeah, obviously, once again, there's a bit of disagreement as to who's a left wing and who's a right wing. So I think I will just say who the wings have got the top 6 votes, and then we can just sort out from there. Happy with that?
Go for it.
Okay, so people that got votes included Gabin Villiers, Sever Rees, Kirkley Aronsa, Josh Adams, Darcy Graham, And then the people that just missed out were Louis Rees-Zammit got a bit of love and Marika Korobete. And then the six wingers that were chosen, I'm sure, yeah, they've all played. Oh, and also just almost forgot about him. And James Lowe also got some votes. He also just missed out. So Lowe and Korobete were the ones that just missed out. And in the top six are, in terms of votes, were Will Jordan, then Damien Pinard, Emilio Boffelli, Duan van der Merwe, Mac Hansen, and then Cheslin Colby.
Sure. That's a nice list. Interesting one, I must say.
Not a bad list at all. I mean, you've got finishers, you've got playmakers, you've got big people, you've got probably one of the best place kickers in the world right now, and then you've got craziness in Damien Pinot.
Yeah, crazy. Just to unbalance everything again.
Did you see Pinot in that Scotland test where he just got the ball and just ran like parallel to the try line? He just ran from one side of the field to the other, just trying to find a gap, and actually beat like 3 or 4 defenders on the way.
Yes, and I was watching that, and then I was thinking, no, this is not going to work out well for you. And then he still managed to make a little something out of it. That's what I was so impressed by. Like, when you start doing that, you're generally either going to score a try or you lose like 30 meters. And he just managed to be in the world of shit and then get out of it.
Yeah, he's absolutely crazy. Look, Colby's obviously, I think, probably a bit lower in this list because he's obviously been in and out with injury. But obviously, he's good when he's good. Mac Hansen has been probably one of the big breakout stars of this World Cup cycle. So he's been obviously just a key part of like that Irish attack and just being another playmaker. We know how good Duan has been. I mean, I think he's got 50 defenders beaten in the 7 tests in 2023, which is ridiculous. I don't know, like, yeah, you need like a tranquilizer and a harpoon to try and stop him. And then, yeah, we know how great Will Jordan is as a finisher. He's chasing that Doug Howlett record. So, yeah, we will see if the Doug Howlett curse can work on him.
The question for you, so Will Jordan normally plays mostly on the left, right?
I think he plays on the right.
I don't know why I got that wrong. Okay. So who are left wings? Duan
and Boffelli definitely play on the left wing mostly. And then we have 4 right wings.
Yeah. So Duan starts.
Both Jordan and I think Hansen have played 11 for their countries. Colby's playing literally 11 this weekend
for
as
the first time, yeah. Flip, that's awesome. That's a great set of wingers, eh?
I mean, yeah, you can't really argue with that. And I mean, just choosing the next 2 or 3, you've got Marika Korobete, James Lowe, Louis Rees-Zammit, and Darcy Graham. No, you wouldn't do too badly with those as well.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, so let us go then to fullback. So people that got some love, Davininiashvili, the awesome talent there for Georgia. Ange Kapuotso, he was a breakthrough player of the year last year. Bowden Barrett, now that he's changed positions, he got a bit of love. And then very close, this was the closest actually out of the people missing out and everything, was between Willie Leroux and Freddie Stewart. And Willie Leroux just got through, so he's in the top 3 with Hugo Keenan and Thomas Ramos.
Yo, that's great. I'm glad Willie beat Freddie into the mix. I think Willie this year alone and a little bit of last year has really been ramping it up. So I'm quite happy. Did Hogg not get some more love? Because I know I voted for him, but did he not get a little bit of love? Because I know he's just retired, but flip, he's had a good World Cup cycle.
I completely did not. He's literally on this list now. Yes, Stuart Hogg did get some votes as well. From you. Just from you, though.
What? Am I the only one? Wow. So he's not in the top 5 of anyone else as a 15. Wow.
Here today, gone tomorrow, sir.
Yeah, true. Sorry for you. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So, yeah, that is then the top 3 there for the fullback. So, yeah, just to go through them very quickly, 46 of the 50 members of our Rugby Bits 50 are Stephen Kitsoff, Cyril Bay, Ellis Genge, Malcolm Marks, Dan Sheehan, Julien Marchand, Frans Malherbe, Uni Antonio, and Todd Furlong. The locks, you've got Eben Etzebeth, James Ryan, Scott Barrett, Paul Willemse, Sam Whitelock, and Maro Toje. At flanks, you have Josh van der Fleer, Sia Kolisi, and Michael Hooper, Courtney Laws, Charles Olivon, and Peter Omani. Then at eighth men, it's Greg Aldred, Kalen Doris, and RD Sevilla. Then we move to the backline players. We've got, well, the best player in the world right now, Antoine Dupont, Aaron Smith, and Jamison Gibson Park, and Nick White, because they're tied. At fly half, we have Johnny Sexton, Romain Tamak, and Richie Moonga. In the midfield, we've got Damon Dialendi, Jordy Barrett, and Samu Karevi. Outside center, we have Gail Fiku, Lucanio and Gary Ringrose. On the wings, we've got Emilio Buffelli, Jonathan Amadva, Damien Pinot, Will Jordan, Mac Hansen, and Cheslin Colby. And then at fullback, we have Hugo Keenan, Thomas Ramos, and Willie Leroux. So we now, Shaun, have to decide on 4 players to make this a round 50. So I'm going to say the 4 players that were, or I'm going to say players that got like quite high points but just missed out. Then we have to see which 4 we pick from them. So it's about, I think, 7 or 8 players here. So Julien Montoya, he got quite a lot of points. Tyke Byrne and Lut Dioche got some points as well. Lock. You have Francois Crow, who got points there in the loose forwards. And then in the back line, we have Finn Russell. I think got all his points from Kooks, if I'm not mistaken. No, he got votes from other people as well. Finn Russell. Yeah, so he got love. Jonathan Dante just missed out as well in the midfield with Len Ikitau. And then in the wings, Marika Korobete. And at fullback, Freddie Stewart. So those are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, maybe let's do that. So you pick 2 and I will pick 2.
Okay. Tag Byrne definitely for me needs to be in the top 50.
Fair enough.
He's been integral in Ireland's rise to the top. I think he's brilliant. He deserves to be there. Another one is someone that my second person is someone that I was probably a little bit harsh on, or maybe was expecting too much, but managed to claw back and has also been a massive, massive part of France. But that's Jonathan Dante.
Okay. Do you? This is going to be a bit of a sidetrack. Don't you think Jonathan Dante looks a little bit like Kooks?
I've never thought of that, but I'm going to totally go look now. I'm going to go get all the images together. While Kooks is flying, just so everyone knows, I think Kooks is flying now. He's going to, when he lands, his social media is going to explode. Oh no. Thala, what have you done?
I've been definitely calling that man Kooks for the last few weeks. But yeah, Jonathan Dante and Tyke Byrne, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. Tyke Byrne, obviously we know how amazing he was in that third test against New Zealand in New Zealand, where he just decided, I'm going to just turn over at every ruck. And yeah, we know that every like 2 or so weeks he has some big line break or creates some sort of like massive attacking play. So yeah, he's brilliant. And yeah, Ireland is obviously a lot better when he plays, and Munster as well. And then yeah, Dante I think is a good choice there in the midfield as well. He's been key for their resurgence. I mean, Shaun, remember like a few years ago, we were talking about how important Veremi Vakatawa was, and obviously he's fallen out, obviously with his health issues. And Dante, obviously he's more of a number 12 than a 13, but he's filled that role so well.
Yeah, I was thinking about Vakatawa the other day, just thinking about like how when they said, I think it was before a Six Nations squad announcement, and they said that he was out, or it was before November, I can't remember, and that he wouldn't play again. And we're like, how the hell are France gonna replace him? Like, what are they gonna do? And still so bummed about that. He was crazy. Imagine he carried on playing now and was in the mix now. It'd probably be Fiku at 12 and Vakatawa at 13.
13.
But yeah. So But Dante, yeah, sheesh. I know I've said this before, but I remember Dante when he was playing in the top 14, and I was just like, I just don't see it. Like, I just don't see it in this guy. I don't see what he's bringing or what he does. Like, why is everyone talking about him? It seems that I actually say that a lot, to be fair. Maybe it's me, but yeah, he's really turned it on. I think it just shows the value and the power of individuals being like happy in their spaces. I think a lot of times,
Mm.
we don't kind of give, like, they're professional athletes. They're not people in most people's minds. They're like, oh, he's playing shit. Like, he's not really doing. He's lost it, or he's not this, he's not that. Like, he just could be going through some things. He just couldn't, maybe not happy with the move or the club he's at or whatever. It affects a lot of things, and people handle things differently. Not that that's what happened with Dante, but it just made me think, like, how people turn around from being like average and then just absolutely pushing on to be like undroppable. And then they go into the world stage and they start dominating. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I think Dante was also a big beneficiary of that France tour to Australia, where they picked almost a second, third team. And I think he was basically given the keys at midfield, and he was just causing absolute havoc. And that's pretty much how he started playing himself into the main national team. And yeah, obviously La Rochelle and their success as well. A big reason for that is how great Dante has been in the midfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been brilliant. So Sean, yeah, you leave me now with the last two picks. Actually, I probably should have asked to go first because now this is
I was
absolutely
just,
tough.
I know, I was just thinking now, like, I've picked two and I'm like, oh, that's a little bit shitty. Sorry, dude. I didn't like, I was like, oh, let me just pick two. And then I picked them and I'm like, I haven't left you much. That sounds bad. Sorry. But
So
yeah, we should have
who
maybe
to pick?
alternated. Next 4 years, we know what to do.
We know what to do in the next 4 years. So now who to pick? So, I mean, there's arguments for all of the ones remaining, there's arguments for Julian Montoya, obviously the Argentinian hooker and captain. Probably, I think if he gets in, he's the only Argentinian representative there. He's brilliant. I think in another era, if those other three hookers weren't, they'd be easily the best hooker in the world. So you can understand that. Lodioka, I think he's only behind Whitelock as a line-out operator. Obviously, unfortunate with injury right now. I think I think if he was playing and playing well right now, he'd probably be in most people's top sixes. Francois Crow, I'm such a big fan.
Yo,
I'm probably
yes.
the reason why he got he got most of the points there. But yeah, he's obviously I think he's amazing in terms of racking. He's one of those people that he will hit a ruck, he will get to the ruck, and he will make sure that the ball is won. So I see a lot of value for that. Finn Dog Derulo. I'm wondering if I should do Cooks a solid and Scotland and make sure that he's in. He'd also be the only Scottish. Oh no, Duan is there. Never mind. But yeah, he's obviously, we know the strings that he pulls at number 10. And he's, yeah, to be fair to him, I would say Finn is a bit mountains and rivers, but he's been, having a lot of mountain peaks. I think in the last 7 tests that Scotland has played this year, he has been quite consistent. He hasn't been going out and getting banned by Townsend, so fair enough to him. He's been playing really well. Then Len Ekital, also a personal favorite of mine. I think he's been really good at outside center. He's probably, I think, one of the best defensive outside centers with, Armin Feku. And I think he's been really good in attack. He's going to be a big miss for Australia. Marika Korobete, he's probably next on the list of shoulder boys in World Rugby at the moment. So he's also going to get no ban. But yeah, he's so crazy. I mean, I think I said this in another Rugby Bits pod that I think he's the best player in the world that only knows maybe 40% of the rules, like, or laws, I should say.
Laws.
Like he will just do something crazy and score a try, and then do something crazy and then have a penalty. Like it's either or for him, and it all happens within one game. And then Freddie Skywalker, the man of the air, Freddie Stewart. Shame. I don't know. Yeah, I think playing in England has probably limited a bit of his skill. And he kind of seems like where Geordie Barrett was like 3 years ago when we were like, okay, maybe this is not his best position. Like maybe let's use his physicality in the midfield. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised maybe in 4 years' time we're talking about Freddie Stewart, the midfielder, like we did for Geordie as well. But you know what, Sean? Here's who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Julien Montoya. And you know what? Let's pick Marika Korobete. Yeah, I think Korobete has had a lot of great man of the match performances for Australia. Like, if they win, it's usually because he does something crazy, good or bad. So he's in, and Montoya also in as well. And I apologize to all of my favorites and Cooks' favorites that didn't make it as well. I'm sure Cooks will have a strongly worded email that follows this when he hears this podcast.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Mm.
If we did this vote in a year's time, so we've gone through a World Cup and we've gone through a whole like Six Nations and Rugby Championship and whatever, which one player do you think will be included?
Oh, good question. I think this time next year, we will be, there's many. I mean, you can say one for each position pretty much. But I think one, I mean, I already had the two below to shout, but I think one that will be in that conversation for sure will be Ange Capozzo. I think he's just going to continue growing. I think that Italian team next year or from next year onwards with Gonzalo Casado, I think they'll be a serious team, like a team that will be, winning at least one or two Six Nations matches a year. So Capozzo, Gabisi, Lamaro, those three players especially, I think they'll be in the mix. But yeah, I think let's keep it at Italian players. I think those are the two or three players that I think will be in the conversation next year. For yourself, Sean?
I'm going to go with something completely left field. He didn't get a vote anywhere, but I think he's incredible. And I think he's one of the big reasons why Scotland have changed up in the last sort of year and a bit. Jack Dempsey.
Ooh. Oh, that's actually a very good one. He was in my long list of you know what, he's actually been very good. And he's had a crazy last 6-7 months in Test rugby. I mean, 12 months in Test rugby, gone from changing countries to Scotland, and now, I mean, on Saturday he was just brilliant. Can you tackle that man? I don't think anyone can actually just stop him like that. He'll get meters in contact all the time.
He's highly, highly, highly underrated. Highly, I believe. Like a lot of people just look at him like an ex-Wallaby. And I don't think they see what he does. He is incredible. I really think that he is one of those guys, you refer to as a glue guy in a team. I think he's one of those guys in Scotland. I really do. I think that's his temperament, that's his vibe. But whether he comes off the bench or whether he starts, he puts in a massive shift each and every single time. Like, he dominates. Whenever he plays, he does something, whether he's smashing over someone or going through or past someone or putting in big tackles or turnovers. He's always doing something. He's one to watch for this World Cup. So yeah, Jack Dempsey, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, look, Scotland. I've been the first to say how bad Scotland is, and that they're very inconsistent. But these last 2 weekends, they've definitely got my attention. They've got my respect.
Haven't they just?
They seem like a serious team again, and I'm just hoping that now they don't get thrashed by Georgia because they're playing them this weekend. But yeah, I've been really the players that I've always been are they consistent enough? They've stepped up, the Richies, the Dempseys, like you said, Finn Russell's been great. Hugh Jones has been, I think, great on both sides of the ball. There's not much reason to now doubt that if Scotland can keep most of their first choice 23, we've got a tough game against them in the World Cup now, and Ireland, to be fair.
Yeah, massive. We in for a massive couple weeks, man. That's why I know we've named a pretty decent side, but that's also why I think we need to go balls to the wall for the All Blacks, just to get everyone just shake it all out, get it all together. Be like, this is the match day 23. You play the All Blacks, we fix the wrongs, or we polish what needs to be done, and then we take the Scotland, because we need to beat Scotland in order to set up to make our World Cup not shitty. And I'm not saying that it won't be shitty, because we could beat Scotland, lose to Ireland, and still not make it. But I think that our life will get infinitely shittier if we don't beat Scotland. So we've got to,
No,
so we've
100%.
got to beat them. And I think I think that's also why the powers that be have picked Wales and the All Blacks as 2 preseason games leading up to that. Because, that, like, it wouldn't help us to play like a World 15, or like Sacks. So we've got to play the big boys.
You know what? I think they're going to be fantastic in this World Cup. A bit of love also to some of the, maybe, let's say, tier 2 players that did get a bit of love in these votings. Goran Goriashvili, Theo McFarlane got some love. Levani Botia, like I said earlier. I don't think I mentioned him when I was mentioning the centers, but Josiah Tuisova got, I think, a vote from Jared, if I'm not mistaken. UJ Suteni, Semi Radradra, Hossein Naislevu, obviously, and Divat Niniashvili as well. So I'm sure there's going to be
I'm
a
bummed
lot
that
of
I missed
talent there.
out. I'm bummed that I forgot about
Didn't
him.
you vote for him?
No,
I think you did vote for him, though.
I don't think I put Suteni in. Not at 13. I had Semi Radradra in. I'd Suteni, he's brilliant. And I tell you, the one thing about Tuisova for me is, like, I also didn't know where to put him, but he plays a lot on the wing, but he plays often at 13. But he's not exactly. He's the kind of guy you always want in your team, but when you match him up against like Koro Betty or something, you start thinking, is he better? Weird.
Okay, yeah. So I think let us start wrapping there. Very quick final question, Shaun. If you had to pick from this 50 that we have, who are your top 5?
DuPont.
Okay, good.
Sexton.
Okay, good.
Aldrit. Xavier. Karevi.
Okay. No, I think I wouldn't be too different from that. DuPont, Aldrit, Audi, Itzebeth, and yeah, man. Look, those number 8s are brilliant. Give me Doris as well. Let's have 3 8s in this list.
Brilliant.
Okay, I think let us end it there. We have now finished our first Rugby Biz 50. I'm sure everyone will agree with this list and will say how brilliant we are as selectors, and that we did not leave anyone out, and this was completely perfect, and there's no social media abuse that will happen now. We should actually just put this podcast out now, Shaun, while everyone's still moaning about the Owen Farrell decision, so that no one notices it.
Exactly. Slide it under the radar.
Yeah, just a little night news dump there, just being like, hey, look, just by the way, not to cause some controversy, but we don't rate your best player.
It's the art of deflection. You're like, hey, look over there.
So yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of feedback from this, and we love it and we enjoy it as well. If I can, I'll even maybe do a little bit of an article about this Rugby Biz 50 as well. Keep your eyes posted on that as well. But yes, let's end it there. Thank you so much for listening to another great episode of the Rugby Biz podcast. Please go to our social media and follow us on Twitter and on the Meta platforms as well to see what we're doing. Go to our website as well. That's where we usually launch our podcast. We're going to get that going as well. And yeah, please follow us and on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Like, share, and subscribe. But just make sure that this podcast is shared with the rest of the rugby world. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao.